Here, with this week's hottest stories in the investment world, this is Zach's Friday Finish Line.
Hello, and welcome to the Zach's Friday Finish Line. I'm Ryan McQueenie, a content writer here at Zach's, along with one of our editors, Maddie Johnson.
Hello.
Today is Friday, September 8th, and we're here to recap the week's biggest stories. So obviously this week's biggest headlines are all coming from Apple, which hosted its latest keynote event on Wednesday. The company announced a brand new Apple Watch and, of course, the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. And there's a ton of things to be said about the event and the new devices. We're going to try our best to say it all, and we will get to it, I promise. But that definitely deserves its own wealthy chunk of time. So first, we're going to take a look at some news from the pharma industry and a company we really just can't stop talking about, it seems like.
Oh, yes. So another not so great news story for Mylan. So on Tuesday, New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, he opened an investigation into the company that focuses on the drug maker's contracts with local school districts to purchase its EpiPens. So just a little recap. A few weeks ago now, Mylan was kind of embroiled in this pricing hike controversy with their EpiPens that the prices have increased over 400% over the past several years or so. So a 2-pack costs $600 currently, even though Mylan now has a generic on the market, on the way to the market.
On the way.
So Schneiderman's office has opened this probe against Mylan, and he said in a statement that no child's life should be put at risk because a parent, school, or healthcare provider cannot afford a simple life-saving device because of a drug maker's anti-competitive practices. But it looks like the probe will be pretty broad, and it'll focus on whether Mylan's EpiPens for School program, which is known for offering a discount on the EpiPens, if the program locked schools into an anti-competitive agreement when they signed the contract. So that's like the biggest thing.
Sure. That's it
for the probe.
Interesting that the EpiPens for School program is the specific aspect of it that's getting targeted, because if you think back to a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the original EpiPen drama that came out, their kind of immediate response to it, where they said, okay, we're going to offer these new discount programs, and and then a couple days later they were like, we're going to offer a generic. It was kind of this it reeked of a desperate PR battle type of situation where, they were trying to spin this back towards in their favor. One of those, when they were announcing the new discount programs, one of the things that they highlighted was the EpiPens for School program.
Right.
And when you hear the company talk about it, offering discounts to selling EpiPens directly to school districts at a discounted price so that students can have access to that at school, it reads off the cuff as that sounds like a great program to me. That's all I know about it. Sounds like a great program. Interesting to see this be the target of the probe now.
Yeah, because even though they say the probe will be broad, I mean, it's a very specific set of terms that the probe is investigating.
It's an antitrust antitrust probe. So that tells us a little bit about what we can expect, or what we should expect the EpiPens for School program looks like. So
definitely. So this is just another PR nightmare for Mylan. And it looks like the U.S. government is fed up with giant pharma companies, just absolutely done with them.
Yeah, from whether it be the federal government, state governments, potential presidential candidates,
just everything.
Everyone's pissed.
Yeah. So there was another industry targeted by U.S. regulators recently, and we had some big news in that regard this week as well.
Yeah, definitely. So that industry is going to be the for-profit education business, which is another one that has definitely over the past few years received a lot of criticism in the public eye, and finally starting to see a lot more activity from U.S. regulators. So big news this week is that ITT Tech, or the ITT Tech Educational Services Incorporated, which used to trade under the ticker, I believe it's ESI, is now delisted because ITT Tech is shutting down all of its schools.
Oh.
Yeah, which is, I mean, most of us, I would say, are familiar with ITT Tech from their commercials. I was gonna say them obnoxious commercials, but
No, they're pretty
I guess that's
obnoxious.
that's a subjective opinion by me.
Yeah.
But it's one of these nationwide for-profit, um, private alternative types of
Yeah.
schools.
So similar to like the University of Phoenix, I think DeVry
Yeah.
University is another for-profit.
All of those types of
That
things.
are the ads when I watch my shows on Hulu. They're always
right. Yeah.
the ads that are cycled through.
Yeah. So I guess the issue with these schools is that although they promise to work with your schedule, if you're, if you have employment to worry about, or maybe traditional college wasn't for you, or you couldn't afford it, or whatever, that's kind of how they're advertised. It turns out that they're actually a little bit more expensive than you'd think, and their graduation rates and like student retention is pretty abysmal, and the education itself wasn't that great. So ITT Tech was forced to shut down, or they made the decision to shut down just a few days after the U.S. Department of Education banned the company from enrolling any new students who depend on federal financial aid. So for those who maybe it's been a while since you were in college, college is very expensive these days, and
Just a little bit.
You do need financial aid. So banning students who depend on any federal financial aid, that's a most, I would say most.
Yeah, most of the
the
college
students.
population.
So ITT Tech was faced with having a severe reduction in the number of students it could bring in. And on top of that, they imposed some other financial restrictions on the company, and it was a decision that was made based on the decision that, or the results of an investigation kind of probe type of situation, where they were looking at the quality of education that the company was providing. So the Accrediting Council for Independent Colleges and Schools, which is an amazing title for a council, but it goes by the acronym ACICS, concluded that ITT is, quote, not in compliance and is unlikely to become in compliance with ACICS's accreditation criteria. So basically just saying that the school wasn't providing a good enough education for its students.
And it will never provide a good enough education for its students.
Right. And so the Department of Education stepped in and said, if you can provide that education, you cannot have the students that we help pay for their school. So kind of abruptly just shutting down schools across the country. And as unfortunate as that is for the company and its shareholders, I'm left thinking about the thousands of students that just simply are no longer enrolled in school, or, with school just starting up again. This is back to school time. Pretty unfortunate for people who are enrolled in ITT technical institutes across the country. It's kind of unclear even where they go next or what to do next. I had been reading a couple things this week about advice for those types of students, how they can get their student loans forgiven, what they can do with their credits and stuff like that. But definitely a stressful time for those people. And like I said, the ticker ESI has been suspended / delisted, so no longer trading. That's about it for that story, though. And we're going to get to the big story of the Apple event. We're going to start with an interesting take on it, though. One that, if you weren't following it closely, might surprise you. But so Apple was they had their big keynote, but for for some reason, Nintendo's stock was the stock that was soaring really high right after an announcement at that event. So
Yeah. So right after or during the keynote event, Nintendo stock soared, I think, over 26% on Wednesday afternoon. And Apple, so during the keynote event, Apple brought out Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto, if I'm pronouncing that right,
yes,
to announce
that's how I would say it.
okay, to announce that the company's iconic Mario character would be coming to the App Store. And the App Store has seen incredible year-over-year growth, like 106% in the months of July and August. And that so Miyamoto also announced that that Pokemon Go is coming to the Apple Watch.
So yeah, actually, it was Miyamoto was on stage for the for the Mario announcement. He's actually the inventor of Mario. I'm gonna nerd out a little bit right here.
Okay,
that's fine.
Okay, yeah.
He's the inventor of Mario, so he's like the Mario guy in the company, and he was there to announce that Super Mario Run was coming to the App Store. And then also the people from Niantic were there.
Okay, yes, that's right. So they announced that Pokemon Go is coming to the Apple Watch.
So 2 Nintendo-ish games. One for sure is Nintendo, but as we've learned about Pokemon Go over the past few weeks, doesn't drive Nintendo's revenue that much because it's more of Niantic's thing.
Okay.
But both companies were on hand sharing the stage with Apple to announce new games.
Gotcha. So I wonder if this will make walking even harder for Pokemon Go players.
Well, I wish I had the figure in front of me because they said some ridiculous amount of, like something like 8 billion total kilometers have been walked by Pokemon Go players thus far since the game's
on. Unreal.
Just something absurd. I don't know if I have the number right, but it was absolutely insane. And then it was also surprising to me. I believe this is the first official Mario game in the App Store, or
really,
the first of its kind, for sure. Because Nintendo has been very reluctant to enter the smartphone gaming market. Of course, they definitely haven't been slow to get into the mobile gaming world. The Game Boy has been around in some incarnation for a very long time. But they didn't want to start making smartphone apps, I think, because they were reluctant to concede to the smartphone gaming market. They'd like to think that the Nintendo and mobile consoles were still a thing. Most mobile gamers have switched over to you can have realized, hey, I can just play games on my phone. I don't need to spend $400 on a mobile console. 4.6 billion. Okay, we got the figure. 4.6 billion kilometers, which is the equivalent of from the sun to Neptune, apparently. So 4.6 billion kilometers have been walked by Pokemon Go players thus far, and now everyone with an Apple Watch can do a little mini. Well, soon it's starting soon. We'll have a little mini. Cool. That even is cooler to me because that's like legit. Pokemon, if you watched the show, like Pokemon trainers have gear and stuff.
Yeah, no, I did watch the show. I did collect the cards when I was younger, but I lost interest.
So yeah, this was the first part. Niantic, I believe, in kind of order of events, came out later when they were talking about Apple Watch later in the event. Miyamoto and Nintendo were one of the first people to come on stage because they started the event with all the talk about the App Store and its ridiculous growth. Thinking back to Apple's latest earnings report, that was something that they highlighted was the App Store has seen incredible growth, which is surprising to me. I think probably has to do with, there's more and more high budget games coming to the App Store, like something like Super Mario Run, where Nintendo is super excited about it. But yeah, apparently the App Store has now over nearly 500,000 games, and Nintendo is making it at least one more. So,
well, and it looks like Nintendo shares didn't see that same gain today. I think they were down about 8% earlier today after investors realized that one game probably won't have a massive impact on the company's revenue stream.
Yeah, so This same thing, like I mentioned earlier, same thing happened with Pokemon Go. It seemed like everyone got really excited about everyone having the game
Yeah.
and just went crazy. But on Wednesday, right after the announcement, in the middle of this Apple event, Nintendo stock soared over 25%. And that came a little bit back down to earth on Thursday for sure, because, hey, it's an app at the end of the day.
Yeah.
This is a multinational corporation, and this one app is probably not the end all be all for them. But yeah, so now while we're on the topic of the Apple event, and we've started talking about the chronological order of how they announced things, we might as well just talk about the whole thing, because like I started the episode by saying, seems like a million things we could talk about that came out. There's always a million things to talk about with these keynotes, and everyone's eyes are always glued to Apple and the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium in San Francisco. But it felt like Wednesday's event was particularly noteworthy for a few reasons. I would start by highlighting the Apple Watch. Let's just start with the Apple Watch stuff.
Okay.
Apple Watch OS 3 was announced. So it's a new operating system for Apple Watches.
It looks like users can swipe the edge of their device to switch watch faces, which is pretty cool.
Nifty for sure.
Yeah. And they include animated stickers, custom reply scribbling, and improvements to typing, which would always be great.
Yeah, that was actually one of my
watch.
favorite. I was following along with a couple different live blogs as the event was happening, and one of my favorite pieces of analysis that was kind of a joke was that they were spending a lot of time talking about the improvements to the typing interface on a watch, which kind of on paper seems ridiculous. But yeah, so along with the Watch OS 3 information, Apple included Apple very reluctant to talk about specific numbers with Apple Watch sales, and they continue to be. And we've certainly heard plenty of things about Apple Watch sales being disappointing to date. One thing that the company did show was the list of the highest selling watchmakers in the world in 2015. Obviously, Apple nowhere to be found on that list. Fast forward to 2016, Apple is now the number 2 seller of watches in the world.
And this is watches in general. So
yeah,
watches, regular watches.
And so they're the number one in smartwatch sales. Apparently, the Apple Watch itself is number 1 in customer satisfaction. And Apple itself is now the number 2 seller of just watches in the world, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Do you have an Apple Watch?
I do not. I don't even have an Apple phone, so
I don't have an Apple Watch, but looking at this, I'm like, well,
yeah.
Do I need an Apple Watch?
I've been a Samsung Galaxy phone user for as long as I can remember, so I obviously don't need an Apple Watch. It's compatible with the iPhone, but I think eventually I will get some sort of wearable technology.
Smartwatch,
I'm sure Samsung has the Smart Things line, and it would be compatible with the devices I have. So as of now, no, I don't really wear a watch to begin with ever, unless I'm like dressing up real fancy. I have a nice watch for those purposes. But speaking of the Apple Watch, it wasn't just a new operating system that they announced. It was also the new Apple Watch. So this was heavily rumored going into the event, confirmed the rumors by the announcement of the second generation of Apple Watches, which they're calling Apple Watch Series 2. And now the first generation is now being referred to as Apple Watch Series 1. The new watch is going to be swim-proof, quote-unquote swim-proof, is I think how they described it, which is water resistant up to 50 meters. So pretty good water resistance.
Yeah, definitely.
Dual core processor, which they promise is going to be 50% faster than the original. The screen is 2 times brighter than the original. It's actually going to be Apple's brightest display to date.
I hope you can adjust that.
I'm sure you can. So there's a built-in GPS has been added. I think they were kind of framing the built-in GPS as to improve like motion tracking and to help you work out with it more, I guess, so you can like track your runs and whatnot. Which, speaking of that, they also had people from Nike come on the stage to announce a specific Nike version of the new generation of watches. That is going to be called the Apple Watch Nike Plus. And that is going to incorporate a few more fitness tracking features, a couple alerts to like motivate you to get you running and stuff like that.
So this is not
cool
a new,
athletic design.
because I think Nike and Apple have collaborated, or not collaborated, but like partnered before with like a fitness app built into other devices and an app.
Yeah, Nike used to make their own smart wearable technology band that you could have the app on your phone for.
Okay.
So Apple and Nike have certainly worked together before, and continuing that partnership with a new version of the Apple Watch. So I don't know. Like I said, it feels like Apple Watch sales have been disappointing to date. Maybe that's because it wasn't as great of a product as some people were expecting, and maybe this Series 2 will be this kind of the technological update, the hardware and software updates to it will make it a little bit more user-friendly or a little bit more inspiring.
Yeah.
And I think that again, I don't have it right in front of me, unfortunately. I think it's going for it's starting at $369, and then the Series 1 is getting a firmware update, and then we'll be selling for $269 now. I think somewhere in that wheelhouse, and on up. They have like 24 karat gold bands that sell for thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
it's
insane.
Crazy. So with that, alongside that announcement, obviously we had the iPhone 7. This is the big one. We were expecting it. Obviously, Apple does a pretty good job of keeping things under wraps.
But it also is like whenever the new iPhone comes out, the next day people are writing on tech blogs like, what will the next? So probably today we'll find a blog detailing the iPhone 8.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
It feels like it had been slowly but surely we had been learning more about the iPhone 7 over the past 6 or 7 months.
Definitely.
Through leaks.
Yeah.
I remember this crazy, someone accidentally left the developer's version at a bar and it got stolen or something like that going on. So there were a lot of rumors swirling around, a lot of things people were worried about, I would say. And basically all of those things were confirmed. So
the headphone jack is gone.
Yeah. Do we want to start with the headphone jack, or do we want to end with that? Because I feel like once we start talking about the headphone jack, I'll touch on a couple other of the new features. Water resistant. It is water resistant, completely dust resistant, and water resistant up to a meter for 30 minutes of water exposure.
Yeah. So that's interesting because it feels like
you can't go swimming with it.
No, you can't go swimming with it. But it's also, I feel like Apple's a little late to the game with water resistant technology.
Yes.
So I'm actually surprised. I'm not surprised, but it's like I'm surprised that it's taken them this long to get a water resistant phone.
Yeah, I think you would be joining a long list of people who are very surprised by that because Samsung. I've already said I'm a Galaxy guy, so I don't want to float my own boat.
Well, their S7 is waterproof.
Yeah, the S7 is water resistant. I could spill something. I could run it under a sink. They have been water resistant. Galaxy phones have been water resistant since the S5. So 2 models ago.
Yeah,
I know this because the day I got my S5, I was so excited that it was water resistant that I did run it under a sink.
And it's working.
Yeah. Well, now I have the S7.
Okay. Well, I just remember that commercial with the rapper Lil Wayne, and he was pouring that bottle of champagne all over his Galaxy S7. Like,
iconic commercial.
Perfect advertising right there.
Amazing. But yeah, so Apple has now caught up on that. Water resistant and dust resistant. Spent a lot of time on the camera.
The camera looks really cool, though.
Yeah, the camera looks amazing. Testimonials from professional photographers about the quality of the camera. It's got 3 times longer exposure, wider 6-element lens, 12 megapixel sensor, a new image signal processor, new facial detection system. The iPhone 7 Plus is going to feature dual 12 megapixel cameras on the back, so You can switch between a wide angle lens and a photo. I don't know camera stuff, unfortunately. So I don't know I can't explain like what it does, but it helps you with zooming. You can switch between the two of them, and it was all crazy. They were doing zooming in and out, and it looked beautiful. And then the front facing camera, the FaceTime camera or the Snapchat camera is 7 megapixels. As far as video filming goes, new image stabilization and noise reduction technology within it. So certainly some amazing things happening in the camera. The stereo is now a stereo speakers, like multiple, like a speaker on the top and a speaker on the bottom.
Oh, that's nice.
So sounding better, taking cooler pictures, harder to break, all certainly good things. They release a cool new color, jet black, alongside the regular black color.
Okay.
For all of the phones except for jet black, they like basically doubled the lowest level of storage, so they're no longer doing 16 gig. All of them except for jet black start at 32 gigs, which is great, satisfying a lot of common complaints for people, except for the headphone jack thing.
The headphone jack.
So by now, I'm sure it's not like we're breaking this news to anyone, but the headphone jack is gone. The industry standard 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, the aux cord plug for everything, every pair of headphones in the world, basically, is not on the phone.
Yeah, and that was, I think, one of the original rumors of the iPhone 7.
And people were like, don't do that. And then they did it. So what are your thoughts on that? So before we... I don't want to sound like misleading. It's not like you can't use headphones with it, obviously. Yeah. Coming in the box with each purchase of a 7 or 7 Plus is a pair of the ear pods. That's what they call the classic iPhone headphone looks. Ear pods that plug into the lightning port, which is also known as the charging port at the bottom.
So they come with an adapter.
And they come with the headphones that have a lightning plug and also an adapter for regular to lightning.
For into the headphone jack. Okay.
And they also announced the AirPods, which are the ear pods but wireless.
Yeah. So it looks like if you take the first 1.5 inches of the original ear pods,
right where it starts becoming the cord.
Yeah.
And just cut the cord.
Just cut it and you just put it in your ear.
Yeah, which is cool technology. It can sense that it's in your ear and will only play when it senses that it's in the user's ear. Not cool technology. It costs $160.
Yeah, very expensive.
Looks like it would be very easy to lose.
Yes, and the earpods are already easy to lose to begin with. So just having a very expensive, very small AirPod that could just fall out of my ear when I was walking.
It can fall out of your ear. I'm seeing no way in which it won't fall out of your ear. Like I would lose it in an absolute heartbeat. I have a hard enough time keeping track of my headphones that have a 4-foot cord attached to them, and now you're telling me I have to keep. There's a little case for them, of course, but that's getting lost first.
Yeah, and who puts? I mean, the case. I'm too lazy to put my headphones in a case, and I just throw them in my bag. And if they'll probably get lost in my bag. They'll get lost on the street, everywhere. And they should have made those waterproof. And because they're bound to fall in a puddle.
Yeah, I don't want to just regurgitate all of the same opinions that are floating everywhere on the internet, because basically everyone is saying all the same stuff, the same frustrations that we're having. But also, like, you can't charge your phone and use headphones at the same time, which is a minor inconvenience, but something that almost everyone will certainly run into at some point.
Oh, that's real.
Unless you have the AirPod wireless or other type of Bluetooth headphones, you can't use the two lightning ports at the same time. If you have the idea of like a charging case that has like an extra battery pack on it that can plug in and charge.
Right.
If you were to use that, you can't have your wired headphones in. Yeah, they gave you an adapter, so if you have a pair of really expensive headphones that you use with your phone, you don't have to toss those out. But that adapter is 2 inches long. That's gonna get lost or broken at some point. It's really, it reeks like Apple is basically twisting the arms of its customers to move them away from third party accessories, if you will. And that's not to say they are giving people permission to use the lightning to headphone technology. Like there will be people manufacturing headphones like that, but it certainly seems like their attempt at trying to cut down on the number of third party headphone competitors.
Yeah, it's also like,
because once you lose your ones that come in the box, you go get a cheaper version that Apple doesn't get a slice of that. But now you might have to go get your $160 AirPods.
but it's also like, I feel like Apple is like, well, our customers have come this far. How much farther can we push them? How much farther can we influence them? How can we get them to spend like the most amount of money?
So are they kind of like crazy sick geniuses in a way? because I bet you 6 months from now we're going to be talking about, dang, that iPhone 7 sold really well. And that was exactly what Apple needed to get their stock moving again.
Yeah.
But if you look at it right now, people are pissed. Thursday morning, the stock was down 2.5%. I don't think I read a single good thing about the decision this week.
Well, I mean, pre-orders
Phil
start
Schiller,
tomorrow.
did you see what Phil Schiller, their marketing guy, said?
No.
On stage. This is the chief marketing. This is a senior VP at Apple. He was the one demoing the AirPods. I don't know if he was demoing the AirPods, but he was a part of the announcement with the headphone jack situation. And their chief marketing, the head of marketing, the whole company, said that it took, quote, courage to move on. That was what it took for them to make the decision to remove the headphone jack.
Seems like a BS excuse right there.
I would say you're going easy on them with that. I covered that aspect of the story definitely, and that had a lot of people rolling their eyes and scratching their heads. Like, courage to move on from the headphone jack that 98% of the industry uses. I don't feel bad for you. I'm not proud of you for this decision, but sure, if that's what they have to say to themselves to keep them motivated, I'm sure. But yeah, like I think we were going to start touching on is, it seems like at this point, if you're going to buy the new iPhone, you're going to buy the new iPhone, and the new, I'm not sure how many new people that were already planning on getting the iPhone 7 aren't now because of the headphone jack situation.
Yeah,
It just feels like if you have iPhones and you upgrade every year, they have a plan for you to upgrade every year.
I mean, that's what I did
payment
last year
plans
to
and
upgrade
whatnot.
my phone, and I think it's like $36 a month. For the new 6S. So.
Oh yeah, let me talk prices. iPhone 7 starting at $649. iPhone 7 Plus starting at $769.
And then pre-orders start tomorrow, and then they ship out September 16th.
Yep, pre-orders start on the 9th, and shipment starting on September 16th. It always surprised me how quick the turnaround is for when they announce to when it starts shipping out. So, but I guess we'll get an idea by the end of the weekend, probably, how crazy pre-orders have been and whatnot. We'll start to hear about it. Other than that, as far as the whole event goes, a lot of boasting, a lot of showing off. That's we've come to expect from keynotes.
Yeah, what they do.
Apple Music has hit 17 million subscribers. Tim Cook rode in with James Corden doing a carpool karaoke bit because they just signed James Corden to be an Apple Music exclusive for the carpool karaoke's. I believe Pharrell Williams was also in the car. I don't know if I'm remembering correctly.
Well,
but yeah, they said they've been working with him.
Well, and to put that number into perspective, Spotify has around 100 million monthly active users and 30 million paying subscribers. So Apple Music still has a long way to go, but they've come so far very quickly.
So, yeah. a lot to digest, and I think overall, people are there's a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths this week because of Apple's decision-making process. Certainly isn't the first time that's happened, and it won't be the last time. And I really think that's basically all we can say about it, honestly. So with that, as always, you can find all of our coverage to all of these stories in the article accompanying this episode. And thank you for tuning in, as always. And we will see you next week.
Yep. Have a good one.